I haven't updated in a while, so I thought this would be a good opportunity to do that. I have had quite a low seizure threshold today because it's a heat wave at the moment in the UK, particularly where I am. Um, and yeah, it makes things a bit tricky. So I don't have seizures, but I have this seizure activity quite often, which expresses itself as facial paresthesia and kind of confused daze that comes over me, um, which is quite difficult to control. So I would think that typically it's primarily caused by um, antidiuretic hormone, which is becomes disturbed through the heat, the excessive heat, and also just in general, just sweating so much. You will your electrolyte imbalance. You will it will result in you having an electrolyte imbalance, which can make seizures more occur with more prevalence, I guess. So one of the things I do is I take my magnesium supplement. So magnesium chloride, I just put in water. That's one of the things that helps to reverse this seizure activity so it doesn't get worse. And yeah, I'm really, really hot at the moment. So that's one of the things I do. Another thing I do is I have sodium chloride with my food, so just a sea salt. Have that with fish because DHA, which is an omega-3 fatty acid, is present a lot in oily fish, so it has anticonvulsant benefits, so I have that. The kind of funny thing about all this is that vitamin D has anticonvulsant benefits as well. But obviously, if you're out in the sun too much, you will get overheated, and that can cause seizure activity. So it's kind of this balance. It's always a balance with epilepsy, I find. Another thing, going completely off tangent, as an update. Oh, by the way, my seizure threshold's much higher now, as it's later on in the day, which means that my blood ketones are usually much higher at that time, and well, it's about 5 p.m. So this is usually when I hit my peak. And another thing is that I've been doing a lot more exercise, and I've put on 6 kilos in must be about 4 weeks, which is quite a lot for me, and it's extremely difficult for me to put on any weight on a ketogenic diet for cancer management, where I'm restricting protein as well as carbs and increasing fat. So that's been quite fun. Well, not really fun because it's quite difficult to work out the macronutrient ratios and to reestablish those figures to see what works for me. An increased level of an increased amount of protein. So I've increased protein by 20 grams a day, which is a lot for me because I was only having 49 grams of protein a day previously. But I'm still able to maintain therapeutic ketosis for brain cancer management. So for me, that's within the range of 3 to 5 millimolars, easy for me to say. Of blood ketones, and then the blood glucose is always going down as the blood ketones are going up. So I've been doing that, so increasing the protein. I've also been doing a few body weight resistance exercises, so just a few pull-ups here and there, a few push-ups, and some one-legged squats with assistance because my balance still isn't fantastic. But it's a great exercise, so I really enjoy it. I do the one-legged squats, and I do kind of a one-legged deadlift type exercise, which is pretty challenging. It challenges my brain, definitely. And I was doing a lot of walking, but because it's been so hot and I want to try and maintain a high seizure threshold, or as high as possible, throughout the day. And also I've run out of exogenous ketones, so it makes it harder. But I'm going to get some more tomorrow, which would be very useful at the moment because it's a challenge at the moment. I have to take a lot of magnesium. I have to make sure I'm properly hydrated, make sure the sodium levels are right. Also, have to make sure I get enough zinc because zinc helps to control seizure activity as well, just as magnesium does. These trace elements are so important to get into a nice balance when you've got epilepsy. So mine's reflex epilepsy, so it's always triggered by an external stimulus because I don't have any sign of malignant activity in my brain anymore. So it's purely as a result of an assault on my brain. So another thing that tends to happen is I get a lot of heat accumulating from that area where the tumour was. So where the damage is, because I had a brain hemorrhage about just over 3 years ago. So that caused a lot of difficulties, a lot of chaos in my brain. So I was looking for the appropriate term to use there. So I've been getting out a lot in the sun, doing a lot of sunbathing, but also to try and raise vitamin D levels naturally. And my 23andMe tells me that my ancestry is kind of mixed, so it's both good and bad because I've got I've got a lot of white British in there primarily, but I've also got East African. So it's quite interesting because it's a combination of something that of a kind of ethnicity that would be great for staying out in the sun, but then I've also got these freckles everywhere, so it makes me I'm partly sensitive to it, so I have to build up a tolerance, especially since in this country we don't typically have a lot of sun, so when it's out, try to make the most of it. Building up a tolerance. I don't use sun cream for various reasons. It would be too much to go into that. The other thing, which is quite a big thing, is I have been doing bits and pieces in the brain tumour research lab at Imperial College, based at Hammersmith Hospital, where I gave a presentation on fatty acids and brain tumours, which was quite interesting, as there was this recent study that came out that came to the interesting conclusion, which I didn't agree with at the time, and I still don't, where they said that brain tumours can adapt to using fats for energy. And in actuality, this was actually proving that something we already knew, that brain tumours actually use only a certain types of fats for energy, and they can't use others. So this was a good study in a way, because it's validating my approach of maintaining a balance of omega-3 and 6 fatty acids in my blood, to manage there's nothing there, but to keep the tumour away. So what we see in brain cancer cells is that there's a fourfold increase in linoleic acid, which is an omega-6 pro-inflammatory fatty acid that we find in these gliomas, but we don't find, and other types of brain tumours, but we don't find this in healthy brain tissue. But interestingly, docosahexaenoic acid, which is an omega-3 fatty acid, which is anti-inflammatory. If you use that in vitro or in vivo, which is kind of in a cell dish or in a rodent model, you can actually get that back into balance through maintaining a less pro-inflammatory, pro-carcinogenic situation. So you can actually bring that back into balance, and then it will decrease migration, and you can actually kill off some of these cells with DHA. So I've written about that in my blog. I'll put a link down at the bottom. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. Another thing that I did in the lab is I presented a research proposal, which was met with great enthusiasm, which was fantastic because I'd worked for a long time on it, and I didn't have a life for about a week when I was just writing up this huge proposal. And that went really well. So in a few months' time, probably actually the end of next month, I'll do some experimentations in the lab. I was hoping it would be much sooner, but there were certain circumstances that made it that it wasn't possible at the time. So I'll be doing that. Another thing I'll be doing is I am writing a book at the moment. It'll probably take about a year to complete because it covers a lot of stuff, and I've only just finished the first chapter. And it's on brain cancer biology and how we can exploit certain changes that happen and certain metabolic weaknesses that we can exploit, and certain characteristics. So the fatty acid thing is a big one. Anyone who's on a ketogenic diet for brain cancer needs to have a balance of omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, I believe. I think that's even more important than the blood ketones, actually. But it's complementary to ketogenesis anyway, so it would help you to maintain better blood glucose and blood ketone readings consistently if you have enough DHA in your diet. So that makes a lot of sense to me. It seems kind of like a no-brainer, pardon the pun. So I was quite surprised when those scientists came out with those conclusions to the study, because the study was really well. The methods were really good. It was really well thought out, but the conclusions were not as well. They weren't. They didn't match up with what they were actually looking at, because they were only looking at one type of fat that was showing that it was being oxidized. So yeah, lots to think about there. And the other big thing is I'm starting a podcast with a couple of friends of mine who have adopted ketogenic diets for their brain cancers, and I'm aiming to do lots of interviews with people I admire and people who have treated their cancers in novel ways, but all treatments that have efficacy in terms of their scientific rationale. So they will all be it will all be evidence-based strategies, so nothing wacky. And I will try to also just explain the science behind what these people are doing. And it's just really important for me to get these people together to show that it's not always just someone in isolation where it's just this thing that just where they're just lucky people who just seem to have this spontaneous remission without any cause. There may be lots of variables in some of these stories, so we can't say that there is one particular thing that has helped them to achieve remission, often without standard treatments at all. But we can say that there is perhaps something within that metabolic protocol or a combination of these treatments that has achieved this result that's unexpected, away from the norm. So that would be very interesting to that will be very interesting to start, and I'm really looking forward to that. Just try and think if there's anything else. So yeah, I'll be keeping up to those details. I'll be tongue-tied. I will be keeping people up to date with the information on the podcasts that I'll be doing. I'm really excited about that, as I said. I've also set up a website where I've collected all of the data that's helped me, and all of the data and resources that have helped me. Well, not all of them, most of them. I'm still working on that, but most of the resources that have helped me to adopt a metabolic strategy to fight this disease. So I like to say outthink it. I don't like to say fight, because whenever I hear someone say fight, it's like you're battling against this thing you can't. It's kind of like, well, I always hear people talk about fighting when they're battling against chemotherapy and radiotherapy. So I prefer to say outthink, because this is a strategy that's not where you're fighting against an assault. So I'd see that as an assault, whereas this is, for want of a better word, a kinder, well, I guess that's a good word, a kinder way of working with your immune system and your natural physiological adaptations that we have to help rid the body of disease, rather than having these toxic elements, which are just causing a lot of stress on your body. So stress isn't necessarily a bad thing, but that kind of stress isn't great. A toxic kind of stress that you don't want. So yeah, those are the things I've been working on, and I'll put details of the website below as well. So if you know anyone who has brain cancer, I would thoroughly recommend sharing that page with them. And yeah, that's me for the day. I've got a meeting about this podcast coming up, and in about an hour's time. So that'll be fun. And I'm doing it with my friend Phil, and I met him through he contacted me after seeing one of my videos. So I'm hoping that other people can see these videos, and also if anyone has any medical background where they've had any kind of cancer actually, and treated it with diet in any way. It doesn't have to be a ketogenic diet, and have had any kind of success, or if they've treated it in any other novel kind of way, get in touch, and we can maybe add you as a guest on the podcast. So the aim is to have lots of guests to be interviewed, and to just discuss these alternative methods. And I'll keep you up to date with that. I haven't made a video in a while, so I'm glad to be doing this one. I think because my seizure threshold has gone up, I'll have this chat, and because it's still so sunny here, I'll get out in the sun and enjoy the vitamin D. So I will be in touch soon, and I'll keep you up to date with all that. Have a great day and a great summer.